Not all scars are written on skin. Some are etched into the earth itself. Scars of fire, cruelty, and secrecy. Scars that transform ordinary towns, prisons, and buildings into disturbing reminders that the past is never truly gone, and that some places should never have been built at all. Across America, there are sites where the ground itself seems to resist forgiveness, where silence weighs heavier than sound, and where history lingers not as memory, but as presence. And when you step into them, it feels as though you are intruding upon a chapter that was never meant to be read by the living. Centralia, Pennsylvania, the town on fire. Beneath the quiet hills of Pennsylvania, a fire has been burning for more than 60 years, an invisible inferno that turned a once thriving community into a skeletal husk of what it once was. In 1962, a spark from a coal seam ignited a blaze underground, and what should have been a minor accident instead unleashed a disaster that could not be stopped. The fire spread endlessly through the coal veins beneath the town, creating sinkholes that swallowed streets, vents that exhaled toxic smoke, and cracks that ripped the pavement apart like a nightmare version of an earthquake frozen in time. One by one, families abandoned their homes as the government bought out the properties and demolished them, until only a handful of stubborn residents remained in a ghostly landscape of empty blocks and fading memories. Walking through Centralia today is like stepping into a world that should not exist, a place that appears calm at first glance, but hides beneath it a living monster of heat and poison, a reminder that the earth itself can betray the people who live upon it. And the most disturbing part is that the fire still rages today, burning deeper and deeper, and experts believe it could continue for another 200 years, long after everyone who once called Centralia home is gone. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Louisville, Kentucky. On the outskirts of Louisville sits a hulking building of brick and shadow, once considered a beacon of medical hope, but now remembered as a monument to despair. Waverly Hills Sanatorium was built in the early 1900s during the tuberculosis epidemic, a time when the disease was a death sentence for countless families. Over the years, tens of thousands of patients entered its doors seeking healing, yet far too many never left, their lives cut short in dimly lit rooms filled with fear, coughing, and the constant rattle of death. The most chilling feature of Waverly Hills is the so-called body chute, a hidden tunnel sloping down the hillside where the deceased were quietly transported, so that the living patients would not see how many of their fellow sufferers had succumbed. Behind the facade of treatment and science, there was an unspoken acknowledgement that this place had become a factory of death, a place where suffering echoed endlessly through its hallways. Today, as visitors walk its corridors, they report shadowy figures slipping from room to room, sudden chills as though unseen hands brush past them, and disembodied voices that whisper from the darkness as if the patients of long ago never truly found release. Waverly Hills is more than a haunted hospital. It is a reminder of how thin the line is between care and cruelty, between hope and hopelessness, and how the walls of certain places never forget what they have witnessed. LaLaurie Mansion, New Orleans, Louisiana. In the heart of the French Quarter, surrounded by the charm of New Orleans' historic streets, stands a mansion that hides a history of unimaginable horror. At first glance, it is beautiful, its facade a graceful reminder of 19th century wealth. But behind its elegant walls, Madame Delphine LaLaurie crafted a house of human suffering that shocked the nation when its secrets were revealed in 1834. When fire broke out in the mansion, rescuers forced their way inside and discovered enslaved people chained, mutilated, and tortured in ways too disturbing to fully comprehend. The cruelty was not random but deliberate, systematic, and monstrous, and even in a time when slavery itself was a brutal reality, the horrors of LaLaurie's actions stunned an already hardened society. She fled the city in disgrace, but her house remained, its very walls saturated with the memory of screams, pain, and the absolute depths of human cruelty. To this day, the LaLaurie Mansion is regarded as one of the most terrifying places in America, not because of spectral legends alone, but because its disturbing legacy is carved from very real suffering that cannot be dismissed as imagination. Visitors describe overwhelming dread, strange apparitions, and the sense that the house itself resists peace. as though the echoes of what happened inside will never truly die. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Weston, West Virginia. Rising like a fortress of stone in the hills of West Virginia, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is one of the largest hand-cut stone masonry buildings in America, but its beauty is deceiving, for within its walls thousands of souls endured unthinkable suffering. Built in the mid-1800s, the asylum was intended to house 250 patients, yet at its peak it held more than 2,000, crammed into overcrowded halls where order collapsed into chaos. Patients endured starvation, abuse, and neglect, while crude treatments such as electroshock therapy and lobotomies were inflicted with terrifying regularity, leaving many broken not only in body but in spirit. The institution became less a hospital and more a warehouse for the unwanted, a place where society deposited its outcasts and then looked away, indifferent to what happened next. Today, its massive halls stand eerily silent, yet the atmosphere remains heavy with anguish, as though the walls themselves remember the cries of those who were trapped inside. Visitors often describe feelings of unease that build into terror, seeing figures pacing at the ends of corridors, and hearing the faint sounds of screams carried through air that has not known comfort in generations. The Trans-Allegheny Asylum is disturbing not only for what is rumored to linger there, but because it represents a darker truth about how the forgotten and vulnerable were treated, abandoned to a system that offered no escape. Alcatraz Island, San Francisco, California. Rising from the cold waters of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz is known around the world as the Rock, a prison built to crush the human spirit. For decades, it housed the most notorious criminals in America, men like Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, and Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz. Yet the island itself was perhaps the cruelest inmate of all. Isolated by freezing waters and strong currents, escape was thought to be impossible, and those who tried were either recaptured or lost forever to the bay. Inside, the prison cells were small, damp, and suffocating, while solitary confinement reduced men to madness, leaving them broken and hollow shells of who they once were. Guards and inmates alike reported strange experiences, from whispers in the empty corridors to the sound of footsteps echoing long after curfew, as if the prison itself was alive. Even today, when tourists wander its halls, the atmosphere remains oppressive, a weight pressing down as though the building remembers every punishment, every desperate escape, and every violent act committed within its walls. Alcatraz is disturbing not just because of the legends of haunting, but because it embodies the cruelty of isolation, the stripping away of humanity until only shadows remain. Denver International Airport, Denver, Colorado. Unlike the crumbling ruins of abandoned towns or the rotting corridors of forgotten asylums, the Denver International Airport is alive and bustling, yet it may be one of the most disturbing places of all. From the moment it opened in 1995, it has been shrouded in mystery and conspiracy, its sprawling grounds covering more than 50 square miles, making it the largest airport in the United States. But it is not the size alone that unsettles visitors. It is the unsettling artwork, the bizarre architecture, and the countless rumors of what lies beneath. Murals inside the terminals show apocalyptic imagery, soldiers in gas masks, forests on fire, and grieving children, paintings that feel more like visions of the end of the world than decorations for weary travelers. From the air, the runways have been said to form the shape of a swastika, fueling speculation that the design was intentional, a sinister symbol hiding in plain sight. Outside the airport stands the towering blue horse statue known as Blucifer, its glowing red eyes watching over everyone who enters, a creature that already claimed one life when it fatally crushed its sculptor during construction. Perhaps most disturbing of all are the endless tunnels and underground chambers rumored to exist beneath the surface, leading to speculation of secret bunkers, hidden government facilities, and shelters for the elite in the event of global catastrophe. The Denver airport feels less like a gateway for travel and more like a stage for something concealed, an unsettling reminder that not all disturbing places are abandoned. Some are functioning parts of everyday life that hide their secrets in plain sight. Across America, there are places where the past refuses to stay buried, places where the air feels different, where tragedy clings like fog, and where silence is louder than any voice. Some disturb us because of the cruelty that unfolded within their walls, others because of the endless suffering they witnessed, and still others because of the mysteries and secrets they continue to conceal. They remind us that history is not always triumphant, that some places are stained forever, and that when we walk into them, we are not just stepping into buildings, towns, or airports. We are stepping into chapters of a story that is still being written in shadow. And if you ever find yourself standing in one of these places, remember this: sometimes the most terrifying thing is not the ghosts of the dead, but the truths that the living would rather forget.